This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and by popular demand, we have a smackdown today between the iPad mini and the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, both 8-inch tablets. One's a little bit more expensive than the other, but still close enough in price that they're worthy of comparison, and we're going to look at them now. So here we have our two tablets, the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 here in white, also now available in brown with black accents, and the iPad mini available in your choice of black or white. Both of these are what you would call 8-inch tablets. The Samsung is 8 inches. The iPad mini is 7.9 inches. Close enough. Now, in terms of display right here, we have an IPS display. That's what Apple always uses on the iPad mini. It is 1024 by 768, so you're still looking at their 4:3 aspect ratio, which is great for reading, not as great for watching movies because most movies are widescreen these days. It's a bright and colorful panel. Resolution is not obviously retina high. It's not super duper high. The Galaxy Note uses a PLS display, which is Samsung's idea of an IPS display, shall we say, pretty close, also has wide viewing angles. And you know, Samsung loves their color saturation, so there's a little more color saturation going on. It's 1280 by 800 resolution, so it's a bit higher in the resolution, and it gets you 30 ppi increase in pixel density. And you can, in fact, see the difference if you're looking at text. We're going to look at our website here on both of these guys. And text clarity is a bit better on the Samsung. A little bit sharper, a little bit easier to read. Now, they're both pretty nice tablets, and certainly the iPad mini is not something I would ever call, oh, I'm slumming using this. It's a nice enough display, but you can see the difference in the pixels. For those of you who are just wishing you could get a little higher pixel density, Samsung Galaxy Note 8 would be your choice. When it comes to the ecosystem around these devices, obviously if you get an Apple device, there are a million accessories for Apple devices. Cases, docking connectors, speakers, all that kind of thing. Samsung pretty much does most of the accessories themselves that are the most popularly purchased. And there are cases out there for the Galaxy Note 8, and there are Bluetooth speakers that work with just about anything, but there are not as many devices that are really targeted particularly at the device. Still, like I said, you can get a set of Bluetooth speakers. There are some nice cases, both made by Samsung and third parties, but you're not going to find quite as much of a selection there. In terms of the device itself, you know, Samsung, they like their plastic, so we have a plastic device. I think it's actually a very nice looking device, though. You might like the brown one better. That just came out recently. That's up to you. I like the white one pretty well. It's a clean design. The curved corners feel nice. They don't dig into your hand. It's quite slim. Not quite as slim as the iPad mini, which is just a little bit thinner. And the back is shiny plastic. So, super grippy? No, it's not. That's what a case comes in handy for if you need grippiness. And the camera sticks out a little bit on the back. That always just deranges me because it's going to hit right there on the camera lens cover every time that you put it down on the table. That is what it is. The good news here is the usual Android expandability. We have a micro USB port here. Samsung's finally doing away with their 30-pin proprietary connector, and this supports USB host. So you can use a flash drive, for example, with a USB host cable, and you can use MHL adapters to get HDMI out to your TV. And for those of you who don't know what USB host cables look like, here's a USB host cable with the flash drive hanging on the end. You can stick game controllers on this, hard drives, stuff like that. Now, if the hard drives require too much power, you're not going to have luck. It's pretty much low-powered devices. Mice, game controllers, flash drives, even keyboards, those are going to work pretty well. And you just stick it right here, and it's going to show up as a USB mass storage device, especially if I stick it in the right way. Now it tells me up here, USB mass storage device is connected, and I can go to Samsung's included file browser here, My Files, and actually look at the contents on my flash drive. So I can open up Word documents, I can look at photos, play movies, all that kind of thing off of the flash drive, which is pretty darn cool. The Samsung also has a micro SD card slot under this little door here. It supports up to micro SD XC cards, so you can throw a 64 gig micro SD card if you want in there to expand storage. Samsung, when they first came out with this device, said it would be available with 16 or 32 gigs of internal storage. Well, so far only the 16 gigs have been on the market. So you need to install all your applications on internal storage, but you can put all of your movies, your documents, your music, all of your media on cards. Headphone jack up top, no surprise there. It's combo mic headphone jack, your volume controls right here, power button. And aha, here's another special little thing, Consumer IR Remote. This works to control your home theater gear. You get both Samsung Watch On and Peel, two applications that give you content discovery and can control your home theater stuff. So that's a pretty neat feature. You know Samsung, they love features. There's plenty of that going on here. Got a front video chat camera on this, and we have that 5 megapixel camera on the back. Now our iPad might not have as many nifty add-ons, but it fights back with just an incredibly gorgeous industrial design. This is just a lovely minimalist piece of technology right here. Nice looking. You can see the screen is a little bit more glary and reflective than the Galaxy Note 8's, but it's bright enough that it combats that just fine. Really clean design, metal back. We have our textured anodized kind of aluminum backing here, again available in black or silver. So nice looking piece, a hair thinner. I can actually feel the difference. It's interesting. I like the rounded corners on the Galaxy Note 8 better, but I like the thinness and the overall easiness to hold kind of feeling that I get out of this device. Now once you have them in cases, it's all out the window anyway. 5 megapixel camera up here in the corner. Neither of these has an LED flash. You have your Lightning 8-pin connector here. Stereo speakers on the bottom. Finally, Apple gets stereo speakers. By the way, the Note 8 does the same thing. It too has stereo speakers aiming out the bottom or side, depending on how you're holding it. And in both cases, volume is okay, quality is okay. Neither of them is absolutely amazing. Otherwise, we've got clean design here. There is no card slot for expansion here, so you better buy the amount of storage that you want. Since Apple makes relatively few products, they can really go to town with offering you several variations on a single product, though. So with this guy here, you can get it with 16 gigs of storage, 32, or 64. AT&T just recently announced that they're carrying the LTE 4G version of the Galaxy Note 8, so you have that option here. And with the iPad mini, of course, you can get this as Wi-Fi only or 3G also, 3G, 4G. So both of these have that option. Power buttons up top here. Here's our combo 3.5mm mic headphone jack, volume controls on the side, and there's our switch that you can assign what it does. I usually use that for rotation lock myself. In terms of pricing, Apple is usually the more expensive player, but this time they're not. The iPad mini 16 gig Wi-Fi only model is $329. The 16 gig version of the Wi-Fi only Galaxy Note 8 is $399. Now you might find it on sale for a bit less, but not too often so far. I guess it's selling well enough that vendors don't need to put it on sale. So you're actually looking at spending more money for the Samsung product. Why does it cost more? Well, it does have some more features. It has that IR remote, and one really nifty feature that does add to expense is this S Pen. That's Samsung's name for Wacom Digitizer with an active digital pen here. So this guy is really cool. For those of you who draw, who take notes, who use vertical market applications where you have to do input all day, this is pretty awesome. And there are very few tablets on the market, Android tablets, that actually offer this feature, especially in a smaller size. So I think Samsung knows, well, they have you kind of over a barrel. It's not like you can shop around for another tablet with this feature. And we'll go into that a bit more later. It also has all sorts of clever little things, like it knows when I've taken the stylus out, or pen rather, and it's opened up a palette of note-aware applications. You put it back in and it closes that. So that's one of the reasons why you're paying more for the Galaxy Note. Also, it has a pretty darn impressive quad-core Exynos CPU inside and 2 gigs of RAM. Higher clock speed than our iPad here. Now, iOS is very well optimized, so you don't really need a whole lot of clock speed there to do things, though third-party games can be pretty demanding. Dual-core CPU here, 1.2 gigahertz versus 1.6 gigahertz, and we have only 512 megs of RAM in our iPad mini. Will you notice that difference in the CPU? Well, I mean, we're talking cross-platform here, so we really can't say between these two particularly. They both run very quickly, they're both very responsive. But I can say that the iPad mini, you'll notice a little speed difference between this and the iPad 3 or the iPad 4, particularly if you're playing some demanding games. But all in all, it's pretty fluid and it's quite good. And as always, iOS is just really well optimized to respond to your input very quickly, so you never feel like it's lagging. While we're talking about iOS, that would be the other major difference here. Now, we've done a lot of Android versus iOS Smackdown, so I'm not going to go into detail about the differences between these operating systems. Obviously, if you're already fond of one ecosystem versus another, then the choice may be easy for you. I know some of you like to have one of each and kind of mix and match. That's also a possibility. With iOS right now, we have our palette of icons. That's what you get. With Android, you get your customizable desktop. We've got a nice Samsung calendar widget going on here. They have a very nice customized calendar on this. A little bit more customizability, but you still have the same app drawer in the end there for getting to all of your programs. Probably iOS is still a little bit easier for folks because it's quite simple and straightforward. There isn't much customization there. So for those of you who are looking at this as a gift for somebody who's not technologically adept, the iPad mini probably would be a better choice. Both of these have content ecosystems. You have Google Play Store for the Galaxy Note 8, plus Samsung stores too. I'm not sure how popular those are yet for applications and for video and stuff like that. And obviously you get iTunes. Everybody knows what that is pretty much by now for your iPad. In terms of tablet applications, this one still is a little bit of a hurt for Android tablets. There's a whole lot more, I mean hundreds of thousands more tablet optimized applications for your iPad mini versus our Samsung Galaxy Note 8 here. That said, all the major apps that I like to use, they are tablet aware. There are tablet versions of them and they look just fine. And today's cutting-edge 3D games, they're coming out in both tablet and phone versions. It's just for older games and things like that you're going to be playing with basically the phone-oriented UI. The Samsung Galaxy Note 8 actually comes with two web browsers. It's the original WebKit browser that's installed, and you also get Google Chrome, and you get Safari with the iPad mini. Now, the nice thing about Android is there's more browsers to choose from. Apple controls that a little bit, third-party replication of built-in functionality, and for those of you who are a little bit technically adventurous, you can sideload Adobe Flash Player on a Galaxy Note 8. 7 and 8-inch tablets just beg to be your e-reader buddy. So right now we have iBooks open on the iPad mini and we have Google Play Books open on the Samsung Galaxy Note 8.0. When we launch Google Play Books, it automatically enables reading mode, which I suppose enhances contrast as far as I can tell a bit. Also gives a little bit of a pink cast to the screen. I think maybe they think that that's going to be a little easier on your eyes than stark white. Personally, I prefer stark white on the iPad mini. Also, the 4:3 aspect ratio is a little bit more natural for reading, I think, than this kind of longer, taller presentation, but either of them will do the job nicely. And what happens if we turn off reading mode? Let's try that and see. And it's still kind of on the pink side there. I would say text does look better in reading mode. That was pretty effective for making the text even clearer, but there you have it. Both of these are responsive and they work well, and they both work in portrait and landscape mode, and they both support Kindle, Nook, and all sorts of ebook readers, so you have quite a selection there. And you can also use Zinio on these if you like to look at magazines. Though honestly, I think 10-inch tablets are a little bit better for looking at Zinio content. When it comes to gaming, they're both quite capable. Samsung has more raw horsepower in terms of actual benchmark performance, but they both do a good job. And we're going to look at Real Racing 3 on each of these, and you're going to see pretty much the same thing, to be honest. And we're about to race on our Galaxy Note 8. So we've got the rear view, mirror view. We got the nice bright colors. Samsung has a couple of different display modes you can choose from. This is the default one. Plenty of color saturation there. Fairly sharp in the detail, not looking too pixelated. Frame rates are quite good with a lot of cars on the track. It's doing just fine. Looks great. So that's Real Racing 3 on the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. And now we're going to try the same race, same car on the iPad mini. And we get the same smoke from the tires of the car in front of us, and rear view, mirror view. Also very good frame rate. Generally games are a little bit more well optimized for iOS, so I'm never surprised when I see good frame rates and good performance from an iPad. So that's Real Racing 3 on the iPad mini. Nice track detail there. You can see the skid marks and all that kind of stuff on the ground. Good times. So here's the thing that really sets the Galaxy Note 8 apart if you have a use for this feature, and that's this Little S Pen or Wacom digital pen here. Got a little button here for clicking on it. Does not have an eraser on the end, but makes for very precise and pressure sensitive input, which is nice. Also palm rejection, because it can tell the difference between the pen and your hand. Your hand is capacitive. Does not work on a capacitive basis. It's just as easy as writing on a piece of paper. Very nice. And you can use this for sketching too, and there's a lot of sketching apps that are available. And we've got pressure sensitivity here, and not for my little smiley face, but if you go into an art application, you can actually see that, and we'll do that now. And we've got our pencils selected. You can see my light and thin line and getting to a heavy line. So you can actually do real artwork with this that feels more natural than just every stroke is identical to every other stroke. Very nice. You can do light lines like so, and then really deep heavy lines if you need to. So note-taking in art, especially in the 8-inch size, feels like a sketchbook or a notepad. Galaxy Note 8 is just awesome. And let's see how that works on the iPad next using a capacitive stylus. So here we have a capacitive stylus. I have actually picked a smaller and thinner one because the smaller tip allows for a little bit more precision. And we're going to use an app called GoodNotes, which supports pen style input, and we're going to use our little pen. And first off is, my hand is accidentally activating controls up top. There's no palm rejection here. Everything is capacitive input, so this is equally as important for input as is your hand, and it really can't tell the difference very easily. So I have to keep my hand off. There goes the quality of my writing as a result while I am writing. And the pen strokes are just not quite as good. Now you can get by with this, but it really is hard. Now once again, my hand's on there first. No good, or I'm going to get some kind of vectoring. Trust me, this becomes torturous pretty quickly. So if really note-taking is important to you or drawing, you're going to want something that has a real digital pen. For those of you who want to just use an accessory keyboard or the on-screen keyboard with this, then, well, it doesn't matter to you, does it? So how about movie playback? Both of these have nice enough screens, and at 8 inches, not too small to enjoy some movies. So we're going to play a 1080p MPEG-4 trailer. Let's see how it goes. Colorful, keeps up just fine, looks nice.
What do we do?
Pretty pronounced black bars top and bottom there.
We get ready.
Plays beautifully, and certainly a nice looking screen for the iPad mini. Now let's try that on the Samsung Galaxy Note 8.0. And now here we are, pretty much the same scene. The colors are a little bit more vibrant here, I think, on this one. And notice how much less pronounced the black bars are here. Okay, now our playback controls are gone. So you're getting more of the screen filled with video. So video playback is of primary importance to you. There's something to be said for this aspect ratio display. Both of these have front-facing cameras that are more than adequate for video chat. I would give the iPad mini a little edge for a little bit more brightness, but they're both quite good. Now the rear main cameras are both 5 megapixel. And here we're looking at the Samsung one right here, and you can see, boy, there is a whole lot of settings going on here. So portrait mode, various effects, sepia, black and white, negative. You know Samsung, they just go to town. White balance, ISO, all of that stuff is here. No HDR though, sorry about that. You've also got scene modes here, all sorts of stuff. In the end, it comes down to how well does it take a picture. And it takes a decent picture. Not stunning, it is only 5 megapixel, but not bad, and certainly for a tablet camera, we can't complain. Now for video, this can shoot up to 720p video. No 1080p video here, sorry. And now we've got our iPad mini here, ready to take some photos, and you can see, much simpler UI here. Switch between your video and your photo mode, switch your cameras over here. Options, grid, on, off, that's pretty much it, so. Take a picture like that, that's what there is. And if we want to switch to video mode, this can shoot 1080p video, so you're going to get higher resolution video, a little bit better quality video on it. So do you want a lot of features and want a lot of control, or you just want something that takes a good snapshot quickly? That's going to be the difference there. And I'd say the iPad mini is the one that is great. You just want to take it and shoot something. It takes a pretty decent shot right there. Lastly, one big software feature that the iPad has is Siri for voice control, and Siri generally does a pretty good job. Now you get Google Voice Control on here. That's your best bet with the Samsung in terms of reliability for voice control, and it works, but it doesn't have all the natural language queries that almost mimic an interaction that Siri has. Of course, Samsung fights back with a couple of things like side-by-side apps, quick access to your programs right here, and say I want to look at my email or my calendar, my contacts, my files at the same time, or my Office suite. If I want to do a drag, I can do that. There it is. Side-by-side applications at the same time. Now, not all applications support this, but some of the useful core applications do, so pretty neat right there. In terms of battery life, the iPad mini is the easy winner. The Samsung Galaxy Note 8.0, usually smaller tablets, they have better battery life. Not so much with our friend the Note 8 here. For video playback, about 6 hours or so, what you're going to get. Now with mixed use, just for pure screen on time, actually using it, and say you're using it to take some notes, things like that, things that are not as demanding as playing video the whole time, you could get it up to 7, and Samsung claims 8 hours, though we haven't really hit 8 hours of screen on time. The iPad mini, 10 hours, no problem. Really, really good battery life there. So if battery life is a concern for you, keep that in mind. iPad mini would be the winner there. So that's our comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 and the iPad mini. Clearly, it's not really a matter of which one is better in this case, because they're both awesome tablets. It's which one has the features that suit you more. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to read our reviews of each of these tablets, watch our video reviews of each of these tablets, and hit that like button.